Right, back the winch off now.
How good a winch is on the front of your 4B. For all those solo runs you do, you're guaranteed self-recovering. We're constantly putting ourselves in that predicament, taking on quite hard obstacles, quite hard runs, and needing the winch. The amount of times that this Roadrunner winch has saved our bacon, it's amazing. So it's a 6 horsepower Roadrunner, low mount setup, it's got plasma rope. It's as reliable as turning the key. It always works. I've got a controller in cab and I've got the remote control. Both of them have been really reliable. Obviously I clean and maintain them after such times like this.
Turn right now.
Whether we're using it in a single line format or with a snatch block and doing a double line pull, the perfect tool for saving patrols. But jokes aside, even getting it on the trailer. Now I forgot to explain in the last video with all the diff breakages. So taking the diffs in and out constantly over short periods of time, it does wear out the studs in the housing. So what we did, we upgraded them to the next size up. So we drilled out the housing, put the bigger studs in. With the fronts too, we take the studs out of the hub and we put in a bigger 3/8 UNF hex head. With the new rear diff setup, which I might add, Brian's kindly donated the whole housing, the axles, the hubs. What he's done for us is he's drilled the hubs out. So he's done what I just showed you we do to the front of the Hilux hubs. He's done this for us with the rear 80 series hub and axle. He's countersunk the axle a little bit so that the head of the 3/8 UNF bolt is not protruding all the way out. It's really just trying to iron out all the weak spots in the truck. I mean, there's always going to be one. Now back to the build. Adam's done a bit more. He's fitted up the flip plates with the U-bolts. We're sweating on whether the restrictions are going to be lifted or not, so we can get stuck into it together and get this high steer and rear diff in. Adam had a great idea how to brace the mounts between each other using a bit of round pipe, which meant we didn't have to modify our front bar at all. Typically they use a box section that goes in between, an RHS, but we didn't want to modify the bar. Our recovery points are on that, and he had a great idea how to brace the mount itself. So another little problem that Adam's found, it's not a problem, but it's more work. So these are the shocks that came off the truck. Now I've given him a big set of superior ones where the bottom part of the shock is a lot thicker. So it'll fit into the shock hoops, but he's gonna have to cut and modify the bottom bracket on the LN106 housing we got. So in order to not have to do that, I've modified up the old Land Cruiser RS 9000 rears that I have. They're adjustable too. So we've had to cut out the old bushes. Lucky I don't throw things away. We had an assortment of different rubbers and bushes. We found a couple that are going to work. So it was a matter of cutting the old ones out and finding a way to press the new ones in. Off to the paint shop we go. I've been banished up the side of the paint shop. I usually do this on the clothesline, but apparently Shell's clothes are more important. We got one done. And we're using the gloss hot lips. This is the quick drying one because I want to try and get these to Adam ASAP. We don't want to have his fingerprints all over them, do we? A couple of coats of this. Can all be done within an hour. Whereas the epoxy enamel takes a day before I can recoat it. Pretty forgiving, this stuff. The shocks are out of the paint shop, they're dry. But typically on a Hilux, you run them, especially now with the shock hoops, we're going to be looking at about that much up travel. So call that 90 mil. Make sure they don't burn. So we're still renovating here. Got the fire going in there. I should have a tape measure here because I haven't finished for the day. But anyway, what we're saying is full open stroke on this shock is around the 290. So if we set it up with 90 mil of up travel, we're going to have 200 mil or 8 inches of down travel. So if we can utilize all that, we're doing a lot better than what we already are. Make sure this doesn't burn. Kids are starving in there. They'll definitely be on the next load to Adam's shop. Not the kebabs, mate. The shocks. Another thing I need to have a quick look at is this rear tail shaft. So what I can do is I'm going to stick this bit of tie wire down, and it's around that spot there that it won't go any further. So we don't know our flange to flange size yet. This is a 1/4 inch, so this is a 6.5 mil wall tail shaft. We've already modified it, so we've already cut it and shortened it already. What we're going to do, I'm going to actually physically cut this now with a grinder, go to the garage and grab another rear tail shaft and cut the cover off it. When I cut this now, you'll see that this is protruded down, and that's what's stopping. Like, I physically can't get this bit of tie wire through. So we're no chance of getting that slip to go any further. And I'm pretty sure it wants to. I set these up. I've set that up to come a lot closer. I know it's painted to that point, but let's cut it and see. We got 3 or 4 days of big rains coming, so I'm trying to flash the little job here at home. But this is important too. I need to get some paint on this, get that cover off, find another cover off another shaft, get this with all the other stuff that I've got to get to Adam's. Cut through. Yeah, see, it won't even go past the slip. Gonna have to cut it through there. Yeah, it definitely went all the way. So that's where it was supposed to go to. And it was stopping at the paint line. So it was stopping there. So that clearly inside, where it was carnaged, was stopping it. I mean, it's a comp truck, right? But the problem is this is down at the diff end. So I'm thinking too, like, do we even need a cover? But that took the brunt of the rock. So if it wasn't for that, it may have been the spline. And then I'm up for a new spline then. It's actually like a really good slip join. I've had this tail shaft. I've had this tail shaft probably 8 years. No playing that at all. You know, when you get things built right, they don't last forever, but they last a while. Paint away all the bad memories. What rock. It's ready to put with the spares that we're taking. After a sacrificial shaft, that's a 79 spare. That's a front, but that's a Surf Auto front, so that's a long double cardinal. Got a 4Runner one back there. A standard front in there, but that's got a good double cardinal. It's got a good cover as well. Front and rear here off the last parts car I bought. I had them up for sale. Look, fronts are always handy to have. Unfortunately, I'm going to sacrifice the rear of this two-piece. This'll do the trick. Adam got the back screen out so he can put his taxi rail in for the harnesses. We'll pull up here and get a bit of Lexan. Home from work, Shell said we got a delivery. What is it? Shire's Fabrication. Round. Oh, Shire's Fabrication. Oh, let's get a Stanley knife. So I just touched base with Tony, and it turns out that he saw our question regarding what length shackles to run, and he was generous enough to send us down some that he uses himself. just such a generous person. And some spaces to put on the front of the 4Runner. He saw me doing the brake upgrade to the LN106 caliper, and he thought, why not take the spaces off? Geez, there's some nice people in this world. Thanks a lot, Tony. So grateful. Okay, so we'll get some paint on these, and we'll be doing a delivery to Adam. So we need to paint them shackles. So because I want to get rid of them as soon as possible, it's got to be a quick dry. So it can't be an epoxy enamel. It's got to be the Duramax. So I've got orange, which we use, but look, the springs are red, and there's enough of this in there to do them. The weather's starting to rain, so it's got to be quick dry so I can get all this stuff over to Adam's. So yeah, the kids are homeschooling at the moment. It's raining, so I can't paint up the shackles. So Nicholas just wanted to get out of the house. It's a brain break, he calls it.
How doesn't this break a pinion, Brian?
We'll use this as a template, and we'll cut the Lexan out. Now hopefully it goes back in the rubber, and what we can do, we can just put slots in where the harnesses come through off the taxi rail. So this COVID situation in Sydney has gotten a lot worse. We could be locked up potentially for another 4 weeks. So Adam and I might not be able to physically be in the same area working on the truck at the moment for that long. I mean, my cruiser could be leaving Japan before then, looking at the build date on my paperwork. It's not the first screen I've made out of Perspex, and it won't be the last. Not much you can do when your paint shop's outside. You can fit these up, and you can get the proper bushes in the front of the rears. That's the main thing I need to get to Adam, but I'll also take the bushes for the front of the rear springs. He can put them in, and the rear tail shaft. It's awesome too because the garage has been such a mess just because I've been waiting to put this back together. The parts have arrived now, so we can get this mobile. It's time to say goodbye. Join us in the next episode. Adam gets the rear springs in. We can work out our heights. He does some really trippy stuff bracing up this 80 series rear diff. We'll end this video with a bit of a drive. The last climb out of 6 stage down Yowell.
This way, this way! Yahoo! Settle.
As always, thanks for watching.